Hey everyone, how's it going? I am starting this different type of content right now where I'm going to review other people online and other such claims about like politics, policy, economics, and maybe philosophy. I don't know. We'll get into that. Maybe philosophy. Let me just adjust this camera. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist. I am studying to be one, and I'm also studying, politics because politics is where does power lie. So these will be longer and whatnot, and maybe I'll try to cut up pieces of them to try and I don't know, catch people's attention into it. But anyways, I'll get started here. I'm just gonna play it. There is a lag using Riverside, which is really annoying. So when I go to edit this, if there's some sort of issue later, because if it looks like I'm reacting before they stop talking, it's this stupid lag that I messaged them about, and they're like, "Man, I don't know how to fix it." So whatever, it is what it is. So here we go. This is Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Okay, so secretaries are put in, like they're nominated by the president and then confirmed by the Senate. So this is Trump's choice, and then the Senate was like, at least the majority of the Senate was like, "Hey, that's fine. They can be a secretary." Now, there's a lot of political play in that, where that's why a lot of um, presidents coming in want to control the Senate and have a majority there with their party, because they're more likely to get their guy or gal, whoever they choose. And is it a broken system? Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But is it perfect? By no means. But I guess it's what we got for now. So this is Fox News. He's talking about, I guess, what is the title here? Energy Secretary dismisses totally made up claim on oil prices.
And joining us now, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Mr. Secretary, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so of course we're just talking about the Strait of Hormuz there and the impact that has on oil prices worldwide. The average for a gallon of gas here in the U.S. is up over 40 cents since these strikes started. What is the plan?
Yeah, the plan is to get oil and natural gas and fertilizer and all the products from the Gulf flowing through the straits before too long. And I may break a little news here, but one large tanker has already gone through the straits with no issues at all. So as the general just described, we're massively attriting their ability to strike with missiles and drones. And that rate of attrition will increase in the coming days. So we'll be cautious,
Okay.
we'll be careful,
So energy's gonna flow soon.
energy will flow soon.
Be cautious, be careful. All right. It's important, apparently. Right now, he's saying that it's important that energy flows soon.
One of the reasons the president had to move on this war. Iran has just terrorized America,
I'm not going to
the
buy into this
neighborhood, and
nonsense.
energy
It's a bunch of
markets for
garbage.
47 years.
America has been in Iran and helped like coup them and all this other kind of nonsense, and like overthrow their government for the one that was more amenable to America's wishes. Like, this is such, you got to go and just go look. If you want to know for yourself, just start Google searching. Don't rely on AI. AI can aggregate information, but don't just rely on AI. There's been tons of times, especially if you try to use AI to build like a logical thread for you to follow, it will fail. Just go look it up yourself. Like, just start using keywords and key searches for yourself. Now, the idea that Iran has terrorized America for 47 years. It's 47 years. Why are they saying 47 years? That's something I've always kind of wondered. So this is 2026 minus 47, 1979. Okay, what happened in 1979? What happened with Iran and America in 1979. I'm wondering if this has to do with the Yom Kippur War or not, but 19 there was a hostage crisis. Iranian students seized the embassy and detained more than 50 Americans. Okay, so there was the Iranian Revolution. I'm seeing a lot of things on hostage crisis. Okay, maybe it's not super important that it's 47 years. I don't know, but I'm not a historian. Like history is great, so but there's a ton of history that I don't know. If you know why they keep saying 47 years, please like comment and be like, "Oh, this is what they're trying to get at." I don't know. I mean, Iran's nuclear capacity was demolished last summer, about a year ago now, back in like July of last year. But now it's been completely rebuilt, and they're enriching, and they're gonna have a nuclear weapon in no time flat. Not true. That's it's not true. It wasn't true that that we destroyed their nuclear capacity. It wasn't true that um, Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. I don't believe it. I don't believe either. What I do believe is that states, and a state is not like, oh, the state of Texas. A state, like in the broad context of the word, is like the state of France. Like France is a state. The state of Iran's a state. China's a state. America is a state. We are the United States, where our states are so massive. Like I think people kind of forget how massive America is, that each state could be its own state, like its own country, you know. Country, state, and nation is really mixed here in America. But so like Spain's a state. Portugal, that's a state. Brazil is a state. Um, Russia, all of those, places, they're states. Point being, now that I've established what is a state, point being is that states operate with each other on the global stage. What power is telling other states what to do, right? There isn't one. There is no power up here that says, America, you have to agree with Iran. You guys have to work together. There's no, like, that would be like a world government. I don't know why that would be a world government. I don't know why I did air quotes. We don't have that. At the global level, states are operating on a playing field of, what do I want to say? Anarchy. There is no governing body. Not anarchy as in the sense that there's no governments. There's just no government telling them what to do. There's no hierarchy there. So that opens up a lot of different discourse and, options, I suppose. Diplomacy. It opens up a lot of different diplomacy between countries. And what I think happened back last year is that Israel wanted to pursue war with Iran. America was like, no, but let's do this targeted strike. And then Iran will get an opportunity to retaliate, to save face within its own people and its own, coalition of its own. And then, we can all say everything was great. And we can make the claims that we completely destroyed their nuclear capacity. And Iran can make the claim that they retaliated and it was enough to scare off the Americans and whatever. And Israel can feel comfortable that America came in for to help it when it wanted help. And I think that is the play that happened. The reason I think that as well is because there's reporting of open communication between the two countries for these kind of strikes. So these claims that people make where it's like, Iran's just been terrorizing everybody. It's like, well, you can make the same argument with America. You could be like, yeah, America came in and just freaking did this and just they wanted to, or they funded this civil war against my government, like whatever. Like these countries are pushing and testing the limits of what is, I guess, in my opinion, sovereignty. Like, are you sovereign? Like, who's going to stop me? Like, if I was America, who's going to stop me if I want to overthrow your government? Who's going to do that? And a lot of people might say, "Oh well, the United Nations is going to stop you. The International Court of Criminal Justice and whatever." Like, they haven't. It's very much rules for thee, not for me, when it comes to America's play on the global stage. Do I agree with it? No. I think cooperation can be a lot better between countries, between states, but that's not, the world we live in. Let's continue.
All right, I want to get your take on something that Politico is reporting. It says Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy policy, quote, are getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices. Quote, folks are scrambling for announcements and messaging to counter the narrative of these rising prices.
Is telling me that people are getting, they need new messaging. They're like, our messaging is bad. They're going to try to convince you that what you see with your own eyes and with your wallet when you pay for stuff, they're going to try to convince you that, oh, that's not real, or it's only this little sliver and you're experiencing something different, and you're not the aggregate, you're not the average. Like you're just this one-off. This is garbage. This is the same crap that the Biden administration did, where they're like, oh, the economy is great, you guys just don't understand economics and metrics, which is why I'm studying economics and I'm going to college for it, so I can understand when I'm being lied to, because, I'm like, this is BS, this is wrong. And they're like, no, you just don't understand economics. Yes, true. There's a ton I don't know about economics, hence why I'm studying it. But as I'm learning more, I'm like, oh, this is just a narrative. And right there, counter the narrative of rising prices. They want to counter reality. They're trying to tell you, this isn't real. What you're experiencing isn't real. All right. So get over it and move on. It's garbage. It's garbage. I hate that crap from governments.
Fact or fiction? What can you tell us on how this is playing inside the White House?
It's fiction. One, they're not being screened.
Oh, it's fiction.
Two, gas prices aren't actually high. Groceries aren't actually high. You're a fool.
It's right along the line. I've read about a dozen fiction pieces from Politico and other news things about just stuff totally made up, whole cloth. We've been planning and talking about this, for quite some time. Energy markets are massively well supplied right now. In fact, the run up in prices has nothing to do with any shortage of barrels of oil or natural gas. It's just fear and perception, the unknown, that this could be some long, drawn out crisis.
Oh my God. It's not even that there's are you kidding me? That's hilarious. Okay, America is number one, like one or two. I'm pretty sure we're still number one exporter of oil, crude oil. Refineries require certain types of oil. You can't just make. I don't work in a refinery. I've just been asking people online about this kind of stuff, stationary engineers and stuff like that, how this kind of works. And the broad picture I'm understanding is that you need different types of oil to make certain things. And you got sweet light oil, you have sour light oil, you have sweet heavy oil, sour heavy oil, kind of combinations. And when it's sour, from my understanding, sour is an H2O well that has not H2O, that's water. God, what was it? Is this sour oil? I used to work in the oil fields up in North Dakota, where we have sweet light oil, but every now and then we would get a sour well, H2 or no, why N2, some sort of sour gas. Let me look it up real quick. NH something. What is the sour gas that affects oil wells? It's with grain silos too. H2S. There you go. I kind of had it. H2S. That's what it was. Yep. Hydrogen sulfide. So I'm not entirely sure. Again, I don't work at an oil refinery. If I ever get a tour of one and they let me record, that will be a whole video, because this is the thing about economics, is you can't just live in this high detached statistics and numbers only, way above reality kind of world as an economist, in my opinion. You have to know how an industry works. You have to know how people function and their perceptions. Economics is a soft science, a social science. Like, yes, there's a lot of quantitative and math involved in it, but you're trying to figure out how humans are going to economize, how they're going to interact with each other on it. And so it'll never be a hard science where you always get the same answer with this, with like, if you have these five inputs, maybe 90% of the time you'll always get this output, but 10% of the time you're not going to get it. That's not a hard science. Every time you do 1 + 1 = 2, it will always be that way. That's not economics, though. Economics changes. Oh, the quality of that wood isn't the same, so the work hours put into turning that wood into like a table is different. So there's a lot to it. Obviously, as you know. So, anyways, what I got to rewind here for a second. What did he say again? Sorry.
Of
Oh
oil
yeah,
or
okay,
natural
that's right.
gas.
That's right. He was
It's
like,
just fear and perception,
there
the
is no
unknown.
shortage. And that's why I started talking about why is America #1 like oil producer. Okay. The reason, yes, we make a lot of it, but our refineries are tooled for certain production methods, and you can't just retool them overnight. It takes money and time and effort and logistics, and all this stuff is involved. And so, like, there are gas and diesel refineries within America that make gas and diesel, whatever, but not enough for the demand and the consumption. And so we have to import a lot of it too, in order to even make it ourselves as well. So we don't have enough of. I believe what I was told is we don't have enough of the heavy oil to help with diesel and gas production. We get a lot of it from Alaska and Canada. And seemingly, since our involvement with Venezuela, I would imagine that if I don't know what's going on over there, no one talks about it. At least I'm not finding much about it. We would pull the heavy oil from over there. So, anyways, this guy is telling us it's not even a supply shortage. BS. That's wrong. Because here's the other thing that I don't like about globalism. I'm not a very big fan of globalism. Is that it's all connected. So the supply chains for America get messed with if the supply chains for other countries get messed with. And so it's all connected. And everyone's like, this is the best going into globalization, because they're like, we can connect all these railroads, and we can connect, figuratively, we can connect all these trade routes and then get lower prices and cheaper goods and blah, blah, blah. Well, the opposite is also true when those things break down and you're dependent on them now after what? Let's just say a solid 20 years or more. So yeah, anyways, this is BS. Like, even though America doesn't get a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia, we get a lot of fertilizer. We get a lot of natural gas, which is insane to me too, because when I was working in North Dakota, they would just burn off the gas. They'd burn it off in flare stacks. And I was like, why? Like, we should be capturing that and like condensing it and then reducing the cost of natural gas here in America. But I don't know. I guess that wasn't in the books for the policy. So, anyways, this is ridiculous. But let's listen.
Known that this could be some long, drawn out crisis, but it won't be. As you heard from the general, progress is going very fast.
Okay.
The world is abundantly
to me, that seems like
supplied
another lie.
with energy. Thanks.
Two things. One, it's not going to be a long drawn out process. They already said that this thing was going to be like a couple of weeks and then it was going to be over. Well, we're at a couple of months now. So I don't really believe that. That sounds like a lie to me. And two, This is either him trying to do wordplay because he's being interviewed by a very friendly, very friendly interview, by the way. Softball questions here. But he can say energy. He didn't specifically say oil. So, I mean, yeah, maybe energy as a whole, so you get to count all those things. You get to count all these like hydroelectric power, solar, wind, nuclear, all these different energy sources. Hey, the world doesn't care about like the the total energy supply. They have very specific needs and very specific spots. Coal is also a source of energy production for electricity. So when you have Southeast Asia and their demand is just through the roof. I know it's been curtailed a bit by China. China apparently has reduced its oil consumption by 40%. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like, hey, you know what? Things are so expensive. Let's just cut it back because we have a massive reserve. We'll run on that until this Iran US war gets resolved. Or if I don't know why they're doing it. That'd be a whole nother speculation video. So, anyways, this whole stuff with there's an abundance of energy. I don't believe it, because if that was true, then all these data centers for the AI wouldn't be also clamoring for all the energy and being like, well, let's build nuclear reactors next to the AI data centers or within range and blah, blah, blah. That's just not, it's not true. Also, too, I don't give a damn about the world's energy. I care about, more importantly, the priority list is America's access to energy and how we are doing with it. Does it make sense for me to be like, well, Australia has so much energy, it's so cheap there? Like, great. I don't live in Australia. I live in America. I need cheap energy here. President
So
Trump's
President
energy
Trump's
dominance agenda.
energy
If you're watching
dominance
my shorts,
agenda.
that's a bunch of nonsense. Focusing on one single source of energy is stupid. It's dumb. It's nonsense. It's garbage. Why? Why would you limit yourself to, hey, let's just do oil. Let's just right here, just oil. Hey, we can also do oil. No. We don't want flexibility. We don't want like an enduring system of energy production and consumption. We don't want to be able to offload energy demand from oil onto solar, wind, hydro, nuclear, and be resilient. We don't want that. We just want oil. Why? Because then when oil has fluctuations, the people that are in control of the oil production, their stock goes up, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Let me look up what is crude oil stock price right now. What is the price of crude oil? We're gonna go with West Texas Intermediates at $95 a barrel right now, and Brent crude is at, oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Brent crude is at 95 and West Texas is at 92, and OPEC is, I guess, at 101. So now, before all this happened, oil was at like 75. Before the war with Iran, oil was at like 75. So you tell me. He's going to try to, I feel like he's going to try to make an argument that he's saying that supply and demand are not a thing right now, that they don't matter. Or he's going to try to say the perceived supply is actually more than what people like. That's what he's saying, is like fear and all that stuff. You're not more dominant in your oil production or in your energy sector when you willingly cut off resources to work with. That's like hey, I'm gonna go work out. I'm only gonna work out chest, baby, chest. That's all I want. And it's like, well, what about your back? Back is garbage. You don't need it. You don't need arms. You don't need shoulders. You don't need legs. You don't need core. It's just, we're gonna work out chest. That's it. That's the win. That's the same as drill, baby, drill. All we need is oil. It's like, no, you need more than one source. That's how you build resiliency. That's how you build actual energy dominance. But what's bad about that, or bad about it, is that oil executives are going to have to compete. And we all know, well, if you follow my channel at all, we all know that, these corporations don't actually like competition. In order for capitalism to function properly, you need to have competition. And the goals of all these rent seeking corporations is to pull out as much competition as they can from their market and from their industry so they don't actually have to compete. Freaking Meta, Facebook is a perfect example. Instagram came up as a competitor for a social media platform. Facebook bought them out and acquired them. And then WhatsApp came in as a alternative to like their Facebook Messenger kind of thing. Guess who bought WhatsApp? Facebook. You see it everywhere. Like, and there's other ways to reduce competition as well. Like Google was paying off other corporations to not develop their search engines to the tune of billions of dollars a year so they could do it. So they could just have a massive, that was the most recent Google antitrust filing with Lena Khan. I mean, it's over now, whatever. So, I mean,
The
I'm
United
pretty sure
States is a
they,
net.
I got to look into that. I got to find out. I'm pretty sure they didn't get broken up. So I don't know if they got fined. What would you have to fine a company who's paying, I think it was in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year, to other companies to not do something? What kind of fine would you need for that? That's $1 trillion. Like, that's where fines don't even make sense. It's just like, you got to chop them up and be like, hey, you don't get to be this conglomerate. You got to be separate now. Sorry, let's go.
We're in contact with our allies. This is a disruption on the way to a much better place to end a 47-year war against America.
So let's talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It was depleted quite a bit during President Biden, and President Trump had said that's one of the priorities is to get it refilled. That hasn't happened yet. House Democrat Sean Casten said this to the Financial Times. He said, it is not at all surprising that someone who failed to consider.
There's got to be a reason they picked that picture. Like, oh, well, he's a Democrat. See, the D is for Democrat. All right, where is it? See? So they're like, oh, he's a Democrat. Hey, get this picture of him. My God. Like, shameless. Don't have any integrity. Just sensationalism. All right.
Iran's ability to strike our allies and bases in the region, or the regional destabilization that follows the collapse of the Iranian government, would also fail to refill our nation's strategic petroleum reserve prior to the price spikes,
so I think that guy's
which have predictably followed. So what's the plan with respect to the reserve?
Bad idea, and we're all going to pay for it, and prices are up because of the war with Iran.
Yes, again, Representative Casten, of course, wrong on both of those points, and probably
Wrong on
fully
both.
aware he's wrong
Prices
when he
aren't
says
up.
that.
And, Jesus, oh my God. I don't know. Maybe this dude's like telling on himself, or like is so hardcore, like, I have to toe the line and keep like Trump's favor and stuff like that. I think that a lot about his secretary cabinet, because he can just fire them and like petition to get another one put in there. And then the Senate would have to confirm that person. Man, it's crazy to see, like, on a personal level, grown ass men have no morals and no spine, no ethics, no belief system of themselves. I see it with the women too, like Kirsten Ohm and Pam Bondi and stuff. They're just spineless, like, yes men, like, what can I do? Because I think to them, they see like power and they're like, how can I like feed at the trough of power? How can I get to that? And they see Trump as like the person who fills the trough or gates it now. And yeah, it's freaking disgusting. Like, it's sad. It's like you to get a little personal with it, it's like you call yourself a man, like, you, like, really, like, this is whatever, man, you whatever.
That's just so unusual for me to see these sort of knowingly false accusations against this
Why does he
administration
call it a conflict?
while the
It's a
country's
war.
heated in a
Trump called it a
conflict right
war. He was
now
like, "That's
that
what you
will
do. That's what happens in war." It's a 2 a.m. announcement. It's a war. It's war with Iran. That's what he called it. And it might not. There's different types there's different ways to wage war, or to persecute a war. But it's a war. Like, that's what he called it. That's what he wanted it to be. He has extended past his actual ability as a president to what is it called, like, to do the whole commander-in-chief stuff, which I think needs to be amended out of the Constitution. Like, we should not be able to have one dude decide that we're going to war. Like, it I understand the argument is that, like, Congress is slow and they can't get their shit together, and what if we get invaded? Like, one, that's never happened, and some people might argue that because we have a commander-in-chief it's never happened. But the opposite has happened, where we have one dude, not just Trump. Like, Bush did this, and who was it? LBJ did it with Vietnam or something like that. Like, who got us into Vietnam? Let me see here. I don't want to say that. What president got us into Vietnam? The Vietnam War. Yeah, it was LBJ. Lyndon B. Johnson. Terrible president, by the way. Garbage. Garbage. I think he's garbage. I think he's trash. So anyways, yeah, we should get rid of the commander-in-chief stuff. That stuff's nonsense. It just allows a single person to get an entire country into a war. That's like king-like power. That is king-like power. And they're like, oh, it's got a 90-day thing on it. Well, Congress is so bipartisan. What is it? Yeah, Congress is so partisan, and politics is becoming further and further away from each other as far as, like, the parties. The Democratic are a whole big number two. We only have two parties, but yeah, it is making them slower to react. But we still need some better solution, or a different solution than a commander in chief, because it just allows presidents past and future to uh, force us into wars that we don't want to be in. So anyways, he said conflict.
Make the world better, not just in the Middle East, but for everyone. So we have been refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we only can do that with monies approved by Congress. While the country's heated in a conflict right now that will make the world better, not just in the Middle East,
fan of, like,
but
America,
for everyone.
Pax
So we have been
Americana,
refilling
where,
the
like, we have
strategic.
to make the whole world better. Like, of course, all these Washington D.C. pundits and all these, like, high on the hog living kind of people are like, oh yeah, we got to make the world better, because they don't live in real America. They don't live in, like, how crappy America is. And I love America and I want it to be better, but it's not. And I've always been a fan in your personal life that you don't try to go out and help others, like, if you don't got your own shit together. It's just like some sort of savior complex people have. But you need to focus and get your own stuff figured out, and then you can maybe help others if they want it. And America doesn't have its stuff together, not by a long shot. But all these political elites that have never, like, done their own grocery shopping, or, like, I don't know if they fill up their own vehicles or something. I don't even know how they live their life. Like, they just have servants for everything. I'm not sure. I don't know. But yeah, this is nonsense. We don't need to be helping the world. Like, we can't even help ourselves. It's ridiculous. We don't need to be hurting the world to help ourselves, but we gotta readjust our priorities. This dude just seems really out of touch. Oh, he says
Petroleum
we've
Reserve,
been filling,
but we only can do that with monies approved by Congress.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Let's look that up. I think what he's trying to say is that they're filling it, which, yeah, obviously it's not like a static thing. That's just, like, as it's being drained, more is coming in. And so That's again, that's I guess a politician for you. He gives a fair claim on, hey, we're filling it. It says here on this other one, local fix by what Biden broke. Oh, this is a year old. Oh man, not a lot of information that I'm finding on this. That's not back in 2025. Why is everything in 2020? 7 days ago. Okay, here we go. 7 days ago, CNN Business. America's pile of energy oil is shrinking fast. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, it says, but now is voter frustration over high gas prices. Here, I keep forgetting I can share tabs. President Trump is draining the nation's pile of emergency oil at an even faster pace than Joe Biden ahead of his year's midterms. Yeah, it's all midterms and stuff. Okay, so right here, right there. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is 50 million barrels smaller than pre-war. Of course, moments like this are exactly why the SPR was designed for. So yes, it makes sense that we're using it. I get that. And we're just trying to fact check this guy. Go away from me, CNN. Here we go. Sorry. Here, let me rewind it. I'm new. I'm still new.
Period of low oil prices. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but we only can do that with monies approved by Congress. In the Working Families Tax Cut Act, there was some monies in it. We have been deploying that during a period of low oil prices to put some oil back into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But yes, it shouldn't have been depleted for the 2022 midterm elections as the Biden administration did. But again, we've done many other.
Why did the Biden administration deplete the strategic petroleum reserves? I had a guess it was about Ukraine, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, it was because of Ukraine. Such nonsense. Yep. Because that's the thing. America can't even take care of itself. We're trying to take care of everyone else. I'm not a neocon, so like I don't believe in containment doctrine and stuff like that when it comes to like expanding NATO and containing Russia and stuff like that. So you're not gonna hear me advocating for that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, like I said, we got problems here in America. They're fixable. We can fix them. We just have to have like a political class that actually wants to fix them.
Other moves that allow the world to remain fully supplied with oil during this relatively brief conflict.
So let me ask you about,
of course, relatively brief to what? What's it relative to? What are you comparing it to? It doesn't say. Nonsense. This dude's a politician. He's doing his little political roundabout talk. It's garbage. It's annoying. And what I would say too is that, what do I want to say on that is there was a huge glut of oil in the world market before this war. And that is why prices were kind of low for a lot of these different reasons. Prices are affected more than just by supply and demand. There's more that affect prices than just that alone. Like the elasticity of a good or of some sort of a product. But the argument here is that oil prices are higher now because of the Iran war, the war with Iran, America's war. And I think what he's trying to do is just downplay the whole thing. Is like, no, that's not what's happening. It's fear. It's fear of the unknown. We're trying to do something that's going to be better for the whole world. It's like, dude, shut up. But I'm not going to let him shut up. I'm going to hit play.
One of those moves by Treasury will allow India to buy Russian oil products. And there are questions about, listen, the president's put enormous pressure on, both Putin and Zelensky trying to get that conflict ended. So what about this criticism that allowing Russia to now profit again off of its oil, even if it's short term, is going to lessen the
Before
pressure
he
on them to
talks,
get to the table
just a
and get
little
this thing
update on
done.
this, like just a little sidebar. Russia was selling its oil to India, and India was jacking up the price and selling it to Europe. Like Europe was paying the most, getting the most pain out of the Russia-Ukraine war. So the supply and demand of oil from Russia, the demand was still there, but they were sanctioned. But the supply was also still there, but it went through a roundabout route to get there. Went through multiple, let's say, middlemen that marked up the price because Russia's like, well, I'm going to sell to someone else. This is the thing that I think politicians forget about is like, yes, there's globalization and there is interconnectivity within the world on the global scale, but it is not absolute. And just because you are buying from us and we are buying from you, it does not mean that we are the only ones buying and selling. And so Russia is like, I have to find someone else who will buy my oil. The whole world, if the whole world, every single country said, we will not buy Russia's oil, then Russia would be in trouble, you know. But that's not the case. That's not what happened. India's like, hey, this isn't about us. This isn't our problem. We'll buy your oil. And guess what? We'll upsell it to the Europeans. And that's exactly what they did. And then just recently, too, the sanctions on Russian oil have been like lifted. I don't know if they've been completely lifted and they're completely gone, or if they've been relaxed, or what it is. It's a bunch of nonsense. But let's take a listen.
Oh, I don't think there's any change in the pressure there or the policy there.
That's not
Russia's
true. That's
oil
a straight
remains
lie.
sanctioned. There's no
I
change
read
in
articles
policy
about
towards
this
Russia.
and White House announcement about it. Are the sanctions on Russian oil lifted? Lifted. It's a good thing you guys can't see me spell because I'm a terrible speller. Yes, it was the waivers. Yeah. So the sanctions on Russian oil are not completely lifted, but there's like these waivers. Um, and they have changed. There's these temporary U.S. Russian oil waivers, ones that are at sea, current status, like so if the oil's already out in the ocean, they're like, okay, you can like. And there was news reporting about like letting, I think it was Venezuela, letting Venezuela uh, bring in an oil tanker from Russia or something like that. I can't remember, but that was just a straight up lie, man. Good job, Energy Secretary Chris Wright, you liar.
But there's just a lot of tankers stacked up. China doesn't treat its discount gas station suppliers very well. They're about to lose the second of three of them. So there's a lot of Russian oil that's just hanging out on the water in Asia. And it's in Asia where the refineries are looking for oil. So we just made a pragmatic decision. Instead of waiting at the gas pump for another, month or two to arrive in China, let's pull that oil into Indian refineries right now because they supply not just the 1.4 billion Indians, but they export products to the region around there. So it's just a pragmatic decision. It's no change in Russia. It just speeds up some sales that were going to happen anyway.
All right. So can you give folks a timeline on what we started talking about, which are those gas prices at the pump, the thing that every day they go and it's a real check on their own wallet?
And it is, Shannon, that this president came in on an energy dominance agenda driven for one reason, to lower prices for Americans and increase job opportunities and therefore push up wages.
I would argue again that energy dominance isn't one sector, because imagine if everyone had to run off oil. Then when there's an issue with oil, it's harder on things, right? Oil is a huge input for a lot of things, a lot of production. And now let's say we built out an energy infrastructure that was oil, gas, oil, coal, nuclear, water, that's hydro, solar, wind. And then what? Okay, so now some people might shift to other energy sources because it's more economical for them. They're like, you know what? I don't need an internal combustion engine. Like, I'll buy an electric motor one and drive that because I live in a warmer climate and I don't have to worry about cold temperatures draining the battery and reducing the range. And I only drive like this little distance, like 10 miles or something every day or less. So it makes more sense for me to do that. Why why would you shut that out? That's energy resilience and energy dominance. Not this like, hey, we have one source and that is the source and is the best. It's an easy, simple narrative. And again, a narrative that like politicians and political groups and parties and whatever, they don't really care about the problem when there is a problem. They care about the messaging behind what they want you to believe, and that is a narrative. So if you're like, hey, things are too expensive, they're going to come back at you with different messaging, and they're going to keep changing the messaging until they feel like they've gotten it right and got enough people on board to stop complaining. That's like politics. And not all politics, but that's a way of it.
So yes, he is keenly focused on gasoline prices. But I think we believe this is a small price to pay to get to a world where energy prices are returned back to where they were. And I'm talking weeks, certainly not months.
Weeks.
This is weeks and probably an
Is he
outside
saying like
case. And then you'll see
once the war with Iran's over, it'll take a couple of weeks, like just a few weeks to go back to energy? Okay. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I hope you don't either, but
this removal of this destabilization from investment and funds and peace in the Middle East, Iran will finally be defanged. And now you can see more investment, more free flow of trade, less ability to threaten energy supplies. And
no,
what
he's not.
President Trump is doing is setting
President
up the
Trump is
world
building a
for years
legacy
and
and getting his
decades
bag
ahead.
while he can. He's the richest he's ever been in his entire life. And he just tried to pass some stuff at the DOJ where he can never be audited and his families can never be audited and his businesses can never be audited. Like he is not building a world. Like that is such a nonsense. This dude's garbage. I have a very low opinion of him and it's going to take a lot to change that, but I would say let me rewind it here a little bit. Oh,
Less
that's what it is.
ability to
This dude's
threaten
probably
energy
a neocon.
supplies. And
He's
what
probably a
President Trump is
neocon, and he's
doing,
probably a neoliberal as well. So like neocons are like I said before, containment doctrine. You know, only America can be in charge of the entire world, and regional powers need to be subservient to America or not exist. Like in a super tight nutshell, that's like what that is. And then neoliberals, from neoliberalism, there might be other terms too. I might be using that wrong on some level, but neoliberalism, when it comes to an economic philosophy, is like free trade, open connective flows of investment and money, capital, and let's do this. Let's intertwine everything. I'm not a believer in neoliberalism. I think neoliberalism is a big part of the reason as to why American capitalism is the way it is now, where there's an ever growing have and have not group and nothing in between. It's an increase in job polarization, it's an increase in economic inequality, and people are getting fed up with it. And it's just insane to me. Like, this is the ball game that they want to have. They want to make it so that if you want to be in the levers of control of like the government or the country to help change things for the better, you have to be extremely wealthy and extremely well connected. And once you're extremely wealthy and extremely well connected, you no longer have the same incentives that you had in the beginning where you wanted to change things for the better. And I think there are a few people in the government that do a good job of like, hey, I'm still fighting for regular people. Like Bernie Sanders is one, but I think a lot of them are not that way. A lot of them are just, you know, a breeze in the wind. They're like leaves in the wind or whatever. They're just caught with the most recent change, and they're so disconnected from reality. And this dude seems really disconnected, and is and just on a puff piece. This seems like a puff piece. So, anyways, yeah, I would say is that this dude's a liar. Well, let's just finish this video. We're almost done.
Is setting up a world for years and decades ahead of lower energy prices, more stability, commerce over conflict.
All right, Secretary Wright.
All right. Well, I don't know. Hopefully you like that. It got pretty long. I don't know if these are going to be longer episodes or shorter episodes or what, but hopefully I'll be able to contain my tangents and ranting into more cohesive and I don't know, bite-sizable segments or something. I don't know. So anyways, yeah, that's it. Bye.